really is like a collective experience, I think. So I'm glad you guys all came out tonight. We have a few minutes for us to ask some questions, for you guys to ask some questions. So let's bring back the author again, Irvine Welsh. So what is it like watching what for many years was described as an unfilmable movie?
Yeah, whenever they saw it as unfilmable, it kind of felt like that because it took about 15 years to do because it was originally with Harvey Weinstein when he had Miramax HAL, which was the European operation of Miramax, and there was a dispute. The two companies split into two, and there was a dispute about who owned the rights to it. And so that took 5 years out, just kind of arguing about that. Then when the rights reverted back to me, I got into partnership with a woman called Miranda Robinson, who was kind of very, very good filmmaker, but very good producer, but we couldn't find a director all the directors that we had wanted to do the screenplay, and they didn't really do we didn't really get the quality of screenwriting from them that we needed to sort of to get to do it in the way we wanted to do it. And I met John Baird, who was a director, through a friend of mine, Cass Pennant, who was the subject of John's first feature, which was a biopic of Cass's life. And Cass put me in touch with John, and John and I hit it off, and we just kind of, he went away and did the screenplay, and when he came back with it, it was the first time I thought we have a kind of screenplay that's going to attract the kind of talent we need to do this, because the character had to have a lot of pathos and kind of in depth, and you had to feel sorry for him, so we had to get a really top actor. If he was just a guy who was just kind of constantly just fucking people over, it would have got a bit kind of grim and cheesy. But he had to have that journey, that emotional journey, that kind of descent, and you needed somebody who had a really sort of a really strong actor to do that. So it was just that process of kind of pulling the right people together on the project. It took me a long time to do that, really.
You know what? Yeah. One of the things we really struggle with here in the States is that police officers in general, when a bad apple hits the front page, it goes seriously south for everybody. There's a sense that we don't have any trust in any of our authority figures anymore. And here you come along with this movie, this novel, really a whole series of characters all throughout your career that refuse to allow people to be seen in one dimension. I love that this is called Filth because, of course, on one level you can just sort of look at this guy like a piece of filth or whatever, and he's always telling people that they're, referring to as other people in one-dimensional ways. But you don't let us do that with him or with a lot of your characters.
Well, I think it's important, if you're going to show characters that are dark, I think you have to show where they've come from. You have to show that they've been in, they've kind of been in the light at some point. They've had a kind of, as he says in himself, was a good person once and all that. And this is a kind of very much, it's like a kind of Greek tragedy. It's a fall from grace novel. It's about a guy's descent into film. It's about a guy's descent into mental illness, and he's embracing, he's embracing all the kind of the wrong things that you kind of do, that people do when they're in this kind of horrible descent. All these false certainties of kind of extreme narcissism, racism, misogyny. These are his kind of crutches as he's kind of reaching for, as he's falling and falling. But he's actually digging himself further and further into this kind of mess, basically.
It's in the book, if I remember correctly, he's even worse than this. And I also remember that the focus was more on sort of a combination of mental and physical degradation, whereas here they kind of focus more on the mental. But I think that's sort of necessary in a film. It might be a little harder to show the physical degradation. But Mac, you were right. Your opening statement was correct. McAvoy. Why does he get it? Tell me why. Because clearly, when I interviewed him, he had a lot of great things to say about you, just as as a fellow Scotsman and just as a national treasure, and you clearly have some affection for him as well. Talk about him and what he brought to this.
I think the crucial thing was, apart from the fact of him being a fantastic actor, was the relationship they had with John Baird, the director. They were very much kind of two Scottish guys, one from the west of Scotland, one from the north of Scotland, and they both had kind of in their family. They both had kind of experience with bipolar people in the family, which was very stressful to them both growing up. So they both bonded. They bonded very much on that. They wanted to kind of that was the sort of focus of the whole thing, and I think that I think that kind of fueled that kind of level of performance that he had, the kind of empathy that, and the authenticity of the performance. I think was fueled by that kind of circumstance. The big concern that I had when I first met James was that he looks nothing in real life. He looks nothing like he does there on the screen. When I first met him in the Soho Hotel in London, he looked about 10 years old. This guy's never going to play a kind of 40-year-old kind of alcoholic divorced cop. And I went away and left him and John to get to know each other a bit better and see how they got on. And when I came back downstairs, he just morphed into this character, but this is without really knowing the script, without costume and makeup. He had turned into this kind of twisted, kind of bitter, kind of sort of nasty guy, and they just aged. And then when we got him in costume and makeup, he just looked great. He looked apart, and every night when he came off the shoot, he drank half a bottle of whiskey. So he'd wake up in the next morning looking really fucked and being really in a really greasy, kind of nasty way that he looked. So he put his heart and soul into it, and it was like it's because I remember when I wrote the book, it was like you spend so much time in this character's head. It's kind of it wasn't an easy book to write, and it kind of and I was saying to him I thought he would be all fucked up in the same way I was when I was writing it, but he would go off and do his intense scenes, and then he would disappear to his hotel room, and I just thought, well, he's got to, we're never going to see him again tonight, but he would be down half an hour later with a big smile on his face, kind of up at the bar having a drink, and sort of, and he did that thing that actors do. He just kind of managed to de-roll and come out of the role, and it's been very useful to talking to people, and getting to know actors like him, and to a lot of other actors, kind of Robert Carlyle, Hugh McGregor, people like that, who they've taught me a lot about when you're doing something very intense, about how to come out of that and how to stand out of that. So that's been kind of great, and but he's just an amazing actor.
You write about addiction in such satirical terms, and yet one never fails to come into a real empathy at the end. How does that work for you as you're thinking about that subject and trying to bring that out?
It's basically, I tend to write from character. I tend to try and get the characters sort of drawn very kind of vividly in my own mind first, and get as much to actually really visualise them as kind of real people, and sort of see what kind of journey would that person be going on, what would the consequences of their behaviour be, not just for themselves but for the people around them. So you've got a kind of, sometimes when you see people behaving badly in movies or in books, it's like there's something not right about it, because you're not really seeing the consequences for other people. You just see them being these bad guys, and it always seems to be a bit one-dimensional. But when you actually see you see the consequences that their behaviour has on others, then you kind of it puts the character again in the position of making this choice. You carry on being sort of fucked up in this way, or do I try and resolve it with their own resources? And when I try and resolve it, what actually happens? So the drama kind of continues out of that.
I'm going to ask one more quick question, and then I'm going to throw it to the audience. I know wrote a book called Porno that was a sequel to Trainspotting with all the same characters. And for a while, it was looking like that a movie of that was not going to get made because Danny Boyle and Ewan McGregor, there was some sort of rift between them, which apparently is no longer there, hopefully. Hopefully that's true. What is the status of this, or is there an update that you can give us on? Because, I mean, a couple of the actors are in American television shows now, so they have very limited windows. And I actually, that trailer you saw for Snowpiercer, like, Ewan Bremner's in that movie. He has a nice supporting role in that. So, what is the update?
It's kind of pretty much as it's always been, only that there's more kind of will on our parts to get a script together now. We spent a week together in Edinburgh, myself and John Hodge and Danny Boyle and Andrew MacDonald and Christian Coulson, who was Danny's producer on Slumdog Millionaire and the movies that came after that, basically. So the idea is that we just spent a week together just to see if we could get on, because we don't want to be in the same room for 20 years. But it was fun. We got like a house on fire, had a lot of fun, and we decided that John was going to go away and do the script. So basically, it's just seeing what he comes back with now. You know, so the idea is that this year we do the script, next year we shoot, and 2016 we exhibit it. But again, you know, it all depends. You know, it's like the challenge now is to get a script that excites us and that excites the actors. We've all been informed. You know, Danny's been in contact with all the actors in it. I know some of them. Speak to them in email and all that kind of stuff. But the big issue really is none of us want to kind of trash the legacy, and we want to get a script that's really interesting and strong. You know, it can't be a youth movie anymore because they're all older guys now. And I mean, it's important, you know, to think about it that way, because my generation all go, oh, the Trainspotting guys are brilliant, and they'll like that. But the people that go to movies now are younger people, basically. They go to the multiplexes, and they might think it's a bit like kind of sort of, you know, watching your uncle dance at a wedding. So we want to get away from that as well. We want to find something that's not trying. You know, you can't have it can't be a youth movie. You know, in the same way as like. You know, going back to this actually, one of the reasons that the ending was very contentious. They didn't want the distributors in the UK, Lionsgate, didn't want the character to die. But we were saying, well, you have to. It can't be like Trainspotting, because Trainspotting's a youth movie, so you can forgive a lot. With but this is a middle-aged guy, and you kind of feel that they're ossified, and he had to make that kind of choice at the end of it. So it does kind of, when you're thinking about these guys as the Trainspotting characters as middle-aged, it does kind of make you think in different ways about how they would be, and how you can kind of get an interesting drama about them.
All right, folks, anyone in the audience with a question? I'll try to speak loudly.